As this runner pushes through a high-intensity sprint at dawn, you are looking at what we assume is peak health. This is the profile of a high achiever, up at 5 a.m., logging miles before the workday even starts. By every outward measure, their health metrics are flawless. They have a resting heart rate in the low 50s, meticulous discipline over their diet, and no classic risk factors like obesity or a history of smoking. Yet, before they even reach their 45th birthday, they experience a massive, sudden heart attack. There are no warning signs, no escalating symptoms to tip them off. We have trained ourselves to equate looking fit with being healthy. When people with athlete-level endurance suffer sudden cardiac failure, it suggests that a low body fat percentage and a fast 5K time can mask the biological reality inside our arteries. The standard annual checkup reinforces this blind spot. Doctors check your weight, your total cholesterol, and your family history. Relying on that basic checklist leaves a gap in evaluating your true cardiovascular risk. The medical community is increasingly pointing to a biological process called silent inflammation. It is a chronic, low-grade immune response occurring inside the body that is often independent of body fat or calorie counting. This diagram illustrates exactly what that process looks like. On the surface, the blood vessel appears clean and structurally sound, but inside, microscopic structural weakening and sticky patches are forming along the vessel wall. It acts like damp creeping through the walls of a house, quietly eating away at the structure for years before you ever see mold. To prevent a sudden cardiac event, we have to stop measuring our health through aesthetic goals. We must actively hunt for this invisible internal decay. That hunt starts by examining daily habits that seem healthy. Consider a typical fitness diet, eating the same meal-prepped chicken and broccoli every single day, supplemented by supposedly clean, packaged snacks. Eating the same foods on a rigid rotation starves the trillions of bacteria living in your digestive system. Without a wide variety of plant fibers to feed on, your gut microbiome loses its diversity, and the protective lining of the gut begins to thin. In this biological map, a barren gut ecosystem emits inflammatory particles into surrounding tissue. Once leaked into the bloodstream, they travel up and embed into arterial walls, acting as irritants that make vessels sticky and prone to plaque buildup. This imbalance accelerates when we add ultra-processed foods disguised as health products. Diet shakes, protein bars, and zero-calorie drinks are often packed with chemical additives that your internal ecosystem reads as a threat. By strictly optimizing a diet for macros and weight loss, we can inadvertently starve the very bacteria that keep our blood vessels smooth and resilient. We are trading long-term arterial health for short-term aesthetic results. Then there is the way we attempt to manage our days. We use a high-intensity evening workout as a band-aid for frustration, only to return home and answer work emails until midnight. Look at these erratic electrical signals overloading a neural network. This represents the biological disconnect happening in your brain. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between the modern digital stress of a midnight email and the physical threat of a predator. Because the brain misinterprets the danger, it continually floods your system with cortisol. This keeps the body in a permanent, unending threat state. Living in that state causes your blood vessels to stay physically constricted. Chronic cortisol exposure prevents the heart from entering its recovery zone, meaning the cardiovascular system is constantly under tension, much like an engine that never idles. Social isolation acts as a biological multiplier for this stress. Humans are wired for co-regulation. Without social connection, the brain stays in a state of hypervigilance. This keeps the sympathetic nervous system active, preventing the heart from ever fully downregulating. You cannot outrun cortisol on a treadmill. Unmanaged daily burnout and chronic isolation function as physical microtraumas, steadily breaking the heart over time. Knowing this invisible damage is happening means we need to stop guessing and start measuring it with the right tools. This lab report highlights the exact metric you need to ask for: Right here is the high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, or hsCRP field. The hsCRP test provides a direct, quantifiable marker of the systemic inflammation floating through your bloodstream. It tracks the exact internal stress that standard physicals miss. Alongside blood work, a coronary calcium score serves as a non-invasive imaging tool. It allows doctors to identify early arterial plaque buildup long before it restricts blood flow. Many general practitioners will not order these screens by default. Requesting these specific predictive tests is the only accurate way to map your true internal risk profile. Once we measure the risk, we have to mount a biological defense. First, we repair the gut ecosystem by swapping rigid macro tracking for a wide variety of plant fibers and fermented foods to feed healthy bacteria. Second, we must prioritize the quality of our sleep. Those deeply restorative hours are the primary window the body uses to clear out daily inflammation and allow your heart rate variability to recover. Third, we actively downregulate the nervous system. That means finding genuine rest and rebuilding your social community, rather than relying on punishing exercise routines to numb out your daily stress. As this screen suggests, surviving the modern health landscape requires a pivot away from the pursuit of pure aesthetic fitness and toward the cultivation of true systemic resilience. Take the first step and book your preventative screening this week. Do it while you still feel healthy, before the invisible damage becomes permanent.